Hello and welcome to our 10th episode of Feed the Flame. Woo! Okay. Feed the Flame. Feed the Flame is where we interview former or current student athletes as well as others involved in the sporting world to get an insight on their experiences relating to our monthly themes. I'm Giselle and I'll be your interviewer for today. We are privileged to have the founder of Body Banter HK, Stephanie Ng, with us today to discuss our theme of mind and body. Welcome, Stephanie. For starters, would you please introduce yourself and your work with Body Banter?
So my name is Steph. I'm the founder of Body Banter, and Body Banter is a registered charity in Hong Kong. What we do is we spark conversations about body image with young people in Hong Kong and beyond. And what we hope to do is to instill a sense of courage and curiosity when it comes to exploring topics related to body image. Briefly, my story is that I experienced an eating disorder in my teen years growing up here in Hong Kong. And something that I noticed about having that experience in Hong Kong was that it wasn't just difficult to find support because of lack of resources. Of course, that was one of the barriers. But because I didn't really have exposure to any kind of positive conversation about mental illness growing up, specifically mental illness, not just mental health, it's very different. Those conversations, like I've heard a lot about wellness, like our school was pretty good about that, talking about wellness and supporting your mental health, but specifically about experiences with mental illness, struggling with something to that degree. We never heard about it unless it was done in a negative way. So a lot of negative portrayals of mental illness, actually. So you might see this in Hong Kong media, but for me, with the eating disorder, it did show with physical symptoms and it was noticed. And so I think the reason why I started to go on that recovery journey or to seek support was largely because of the fact that physical symptoms started to show, which I strongly believe should never have been the case.
In your experience of meeting and interacting with these teenagers through like Body Banter, I suppose, would you mind sharing like some common patterns on body image and how it affects their mental health?
I think the fact that because body image issues and many people just see it at a very surface level. It's just a mindset shift that you need to go through, kind of thing. And you hear this a lot, just snap out of it. Just stop caring about your appearance. And besides being extremely aggravating to hear that, I think additionally what is kind of underlies these kinds of comments is the assumption that, or the misunderstanding of not knowing what goes on behind these kinds of struggles. A lot of times, what happened before someone struggles with an eating disorder, with dissatisfaction with their body, is a very heavy period of uncertainty. And this is very tied to this sense that when we control or we attempt to control our weight, our eating behaviors, and exercising behaviors, it often stems from a strong need for control. I think a common experience is that during the teen years, you have so many different kinds of stressors and changes coming at you from every direction. Your body's changing, your hormones are changing, your social circles are changing, friendship dynamics are changing, your relationship with your family members are changing. And added onto that, you have massive academic stress. So I think that it may not always manifest as an eating disorder, of course. There are other forms of distress or patterns of distress that people can start to engage in. But an eating disorder or eating and body-related struggles can be a common way for teens to express and manifest this kind of distress or fear of losing control, because we are so surrounded by media that links our sense of self-worth, links appearance with achievement.
Well, at The Torch, we sort of focus on the well-being of student athletes in particular. So we were wondering if you believe that there's a different impact on teenagers in sports in regards to how they perceive body image and in what ways.
I think a reason why student athletes may actually be at a higher risk of developing these kinds of concerns related to food and body is because there is actually such a strong emphasis on that in many sports. But with certain sports, there might be an emphasis on a certain kind of body type that excels in that sport. So a lot of times with like dancers or gymnasts, Even to some degree, I'd say, yeah, anything with weight categories or certain ideals of sports, of what kinds of bodies are good in that sport.
Looking back on your own experience with like food and like body image, how has your perspective on your eating or exercise habits like changed thanks to body image talk and like mental health awareness, do you think?
Ooh, I love this question. Well, I think, yeah, it's taken its twists and turns throughout my life. And I think there were definitely their kind of ups and downs. I had my relapses, especially when I went to college, actually. My first year of college, I had a really big relapse, even though I'd been pretty steady in my eating disorder recovery. Basically, since I struggled most heavily when I was in year 11 or 12. So towards the last 2 or 3 years of high school, and then I was doing a lot better, and that's why I was able to. My parents were like, okay, you can go, and you can be free, go to college. But then when I came back at Christmas, I had really taken a turn for the worse again because of that sense of uncertainty that I was, and being very homesick, frankly, in my first year of college, or that first semester of college. So yeah, this is just to say there were ups and downs, much more frequent at the start of recovery. And then I really started to see things stabilize, especially during COVID, actually, mindset-wise. So physically wise, I think just like regaining my physical strength and health, that came relatively quickly. And that's why, I think when things stopped being visible and people could see that I looked physically healthy, they assumed that everything was fine, when it really wasn't. And there were tons of things I was still dealing with emotionally and psychologically. And then COVID, while it could have been kind of a petri dish for relapse or, kind of negative thought patterns. And for many people, it was actually a big trigger because of the unpredictability of what COVID brought. But for me, I think what happened was that during COVID, I really started to explore forms of movement outside of the gym, and going on hikes, just doing movement outdoors, doing things that I might not otherwise have tried, getting used to not just eating not just eating the foods that I would have been very used to, because sometimes they'd be out of stock at the supermarket, and being okay with that, and I came back home during that time. I was studying in the US prior to coming back to Hong Kong, and I thought I would be in Hong Kong for max like 3 months before going back to finish my master, but it didn't work out that way, clearly. COVID lasted much longer than 3 months. And while I was home with my family, I also realized, this form of communal eating, which I was so terrified of during kind of the recovery, the early recovery journey, because of that unpredictability about how much what I was eating, someone else cooking, me not being able to control everything I was putting in my mouth. I realized I was okay with that. I realized that I had an appreciation for the communal aspect, like relationship building that was happening at the dinner table, in addition to what was being eaten. So I think actually COVID really improved my relationships with food and exercise in ways that I didn't anticipate. And then after COVID, when I was, things were opening back up again, I realized I was like, there's nothing that's stopping me now with being a lot more free. And when I did step back into the gym again, I was like, this isn't the only option I have. Like, there was this liberating sense of being like, this is one of my options and I can love it and enjoy it. And it's not the only thing that can make me feel happy moving in my body. Same goes for food. I was able to appreciate again that restaurants had options, and it no longer scared me that, it's like, wow, there's so many restaurants that are open. Like, what's not to love about that? And the opening back up those experiences with food, I just appreciated it so much more in post-COVID. So yeah, that was a big turning point for me.
That's great. Maybe I think I need to get out of the gym then. try something new. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, at Body Banter, well, I understand that you guys are trying to remove the stigma behind discussing things such as body image and mental health. And in Hong Kong, like, what ways do you think it's necessary now to be talking about such issues?
So I think what I advocate for in particular, I think it's important to have lived experience sharing for people with experiences of mental illnesses, mental health problems, people in recovery who are navigating recovery and feel safe to do that. Who are prepared to share their story and are trained to do it within programs such as the one that I'm facilitating at Mind HK as part of my PhD. I think having these safe or these kind of trained storytellers coming out to talk about their experience and then having educational components with clinically and empirically supported information about what experiences of mental illness are like, having these kinds of good quality education paired with these lived experience stories, I think is so crucial for improving the state of understanding about mental illnesses and mental health as a general category as well. So just circling, that was a huge circle just to say the reason why I think it's important to talk about these conversations or these topics related to body image, mental health, mental illness. The reason why it's important now is because there's interest, and if we can do it well, it can have a huge impact. And for people to not just understand more generally about like this topic, in society, but nuanced, like have a curiosity to understand what it means for themselves. I think we've lacked that for a very long time. Just because there are open conversations in society doesn't mean that people will reflect on what it means in their own lives. And I think that when we have those personal stories, it makes a difference because people are like, oh, I see myself in you. I see myself in you, and that's important.
So how do you think as we as like a student organization can like help encourage our peers or even our juniors to speak up about like body image and mental health, whether it's in their own homes or in Hong Kong?
I think having this conversation today and sharing it with your community is a great start, because I think we learn a lot from conversations, and I just think just hearing other people talk about something, whether it's on a podcast or let's say you run a discussion group at school, which is what Body Banter does. We have student-led discussion groups at school campuses. And I think the power of that is, first of all, when we verbalize our thoughts and practice doing that, it becomes less and less scary to express. And we learn our way around kind of the twists and turns of conversation topics. And hearing other people talk about their experiences gives us, I like to say it's called a process of lending language. We get a sense of like little words, little frameworks that we can use and borrow from others to talk about topics that we previously have thought were taboo, or we don't know what to do in those types of conversations. And yeah, I think that really makes a difference. So I'd say, as a student organization, facilitating continuing to do the podcast, facilitating spaces where students can have conversations, not just in the traditional discussion group type setting. It can be an event that you have where you screen a film that's related to body image topics, where you get student athletes to sit on a panel and chat about that and then have a discussion afterwards. There's so many ways to do it, so many creative ways that kind of the world is your oyster. I don't know if I used that correctly here, but I want to say
I think so, yes. It's a good phrase to use. Yes. Okay, do you have any final comments or encouragement on mind and body for our viewers today?
End and say, I'm currently facing an outdoor area, and I think that something that has really changed my perspective on body image and mental health is getting outside and experiencing the feeling of, it sounds so hipster, like just like feeling
go outside,
feeling the air. Go outside, feel the air on your skin. there's something about that though. I think speaking of appreciating the functionality of the body and seeing it beyond appearance. And I think there's something about being outside that kind of melts that away, the concern, a lot of the concern about what your body looks like, or kind of just presents it as one of the facets of your body. Like you can care about, there's nothing wrong with feeling like you want to be attractive and wanting to present yourself in a certain way, where we live in a society where social media makes that important. Society talks about that a lot. And so I think that it would be wrong to say that it'd be wrong to say that it's wrong to do that. But I think that being outdoors and dispersing that energy or dispersing that concern, and just putting it as one of the facets, there's so much more that you can do with this body. Like, it can help you hike. It can help you to put your arm around a friend who you're hiking with. And you can really feel the experience of being in your body. And so if I could give one tip, hopefully beyond the, right now it's the weather isn't the best, so maybe just sit in the rain. But yeah, get yourself outdoors, appreciate being in your body in that space. And that's what I'll leave you with.
Okay, thank you so much, Stephanie. That brings us to the end of our episode. Yay! Okay, if you want to know more about our theme for the month of April, Mind and Body, be sure to check out our website or our Instagram page. I'm Giselle. See you again soon.